Alright, let's rewind real quick. Just before the world went crazy Insano style back in 2019, things were actually going pretty great. Avengers Endgame came out, From Software dropped Sekiro, and yours truly was still in high school sleeping through his classes because he stayed up all night playing Overwatch and Destiny 2. But there was one more thing I and thousands of others were highly anticipating this year. BioWare, who is famous for their Dragon Age and Mass Effect IPs, were in the studio cooking up something fierce. People were calling this project the next big thing, the first truly next-gen game, and even, for the millionth time, the Destiny killer. We say this every year at this point. This game, as most of you know, eventually became Anthem, but in all honesty, I don't even know if I can use the word became, as it's more along the lines of me hitting my growth spurt and becoming a tall, nonchalant basketball player. It just never really happened. Yeah, I probably gave some of you PTSD, because it sure did for me when it came up on my feed that this game's servers were officially shutting down in January of 2026, and seeing as this game is an online-only experience, this means the game from then on out will be permanently unplayable. At this point, it's been over 6 years since I last played this game, and even then, it only graced my attention for a mere week, and it must have been quite the awful week for games back then, because man, I do not remember any of it. This was when I got the masterfully brilliant idea to go for this game's Platinum trophy before it inevitably becomes impossible. And with hindsight being 2020, I wish it was impossible prior to my bright idea to do this challenge, because man, this was pure misery. The first obstacle we were faced with was simply just purchasing the game. With the server shutting down soon, they decided to take Anthem down from all online storefronts, so I did as any man in my position would do. I called up my longtime homie Mr. Bezos, Mr. Bezzy Forsezi as his close friends call him, and after a long conversation of catching up on our stock portfolios, you know my boy made it happen. And due to my powerful connections, that John got here in 2 days flat. It's not about what you know, it's about who you know. Remember that. The game opens to us becoming acquainted with some of our close pals. We are entering something called the Heart of Rage, which from what I gathered is some sort of cataclysm created by the Anthem, which is some sort of godlike, all-powerful force of nature type thing-a-ling. I truthfully don't know. I was falling asleep for most of this game, so you guys are getting a whopping 10% accuracy in terms of the story. Anyways, our dudes are straight dropping like flies, due to what I can only assume is a massive skill issue. And with literally everyone else gone, this guy is straight tweaking and refusing to leave. So we drag his ass home and we get a bit of a time skip. Apparently people low-key hate us now because we're losing losers, so that's kind of messed up. Imagine hating on a Vietnam veteran because we lost the war. We cut to our main character nicknamed the Freelancer because Guardian was already taken. We are mid-mission trying to stop a cataclysm, which seems to be an everyday thing for these guys, so yeah, there's that. So we do the thing, kill the thing, and get the thing, with that thing being our first trophy titled Early Warnings. After a hard day's work, we go home to our base of operations, Fort Tarsus, where we meet. Never mind. Yeah, this happened an insane amount of times, but compared to the rest of the game's issues, this really didn't bother me too bad. We meet a few new characters, most irrelevant and others boring as hell, including our buddy old pal Owen. He's like the Jarvis to our Iron Man, so we get to hear his lovely voice the entire game, and totally isn't cut short by any unfortunate circumstances. This blonde spy lady tricks us into meeting with her and says a bunch of spy stuff, as spies do, making us in turn super spies too. Bars. We then get to choose one of the 4 javelins. I remember choosing the Interceptor when I originally played on Xbox back in 2019, so I chose Storm, which was relatively fun considering the contents of this game, but we'll eventually have to play as all 4 anyway, so it doesn't really matter. We frequently find ourselves walking around Fort Tarsus at a snail's pace, because the devs forgot to add a sprint button. We do this to speak to every single person possible, as it builds loyalty points for the 3 main factions in the game, which each have a trophy respectively for reaching the max standing. This old fart has non-flashbacks and tells us how all his homies got absolutely decimated, and that the people that did it will do it again unless we stop them. So we set out to find this so-called big baddie, and when we do, he straight murks the spy lady's friend. Our character cries and starts yelling as all good spies do, and we get ambushed. Bro kinda looks like the guy from Fortnite, by the way. However, after cleaning out the fodder, we earned the Incursion trophy, so I guess it really does pay to be bad at your job. We start doing side missions for a few characters named Yarrow, Matthias, and Bryn, which each of these NPCs are tied to their own side quest trophies respectively. We're then sent out to find our old pals from the intro that are currently in negotiations. And to make things up to this guy for sucking ass back in the day, we eat some gross shit and take it like a champ. This guy's still the big mad at us for some reason, but she's chill though. However, we're suddenly attacked by the bad guys, so we defend the camp. Owen hops in his suit and gets dunked on instantly, and we save his ass, blessing us with the Finding Old Friends trophy. And you guessed it, on the way home we gave him a stern talking to and let him know never to do that shit again. We kinda sorta convinced these two to join our cause and help us beat the bad guys, even though Grumpy McGrumperpants won't let bygones be bygones. During that mission, we completed a weapon mastery challenge for getting 50 kills with a specific weapon. We have to do this for every weapon in the game, as completing each weapon category grants us a trophy as well. Now go ahead and take a shot for every time the word weapon was said. Blasting through more of the side quest content, I really started to understand the gameplay loop this game has to offer, and that loop is smaller than a ring on a pinky finger. This game loves the rule of threes, so with every tedious collect this item or defend this point, and especially shoot this thing, you don't only get to do it once, but 3 excruciatingly boring times. I really can't remember a point where the game shook things up at all. This entire game is just repeating insert tedious task 3 times, and when you're done, do it all over again. But after a lifetime supply of that, we complete Matthias' first quest line granting Arcanist Mysteries, and finishing Yarrow's as well, acquiring Restoring Glory. After bouncing around the missions for a while, I accidentally obtained the Explorer trophy for the Eastern region, which was pretty easy since I was just following all the question marks on my compass thus far, which lead to collectibles and things of the sort. Soon after, I got 50 kills with the last marksman rifle and earned the Born in Battle trophy as well. Knocked out Bryn's first questline for the Comrade in Arms trophy. FYI, I don't really know what's happening, but from what I've gathered, this chick sucks at her job of leadership. The game then forces us to complete the Challenge of Legionnaires, which are 4 tombs with a bunch of fetch quests and bloat tasks, made exclusively to make you play the free roam mode and to cut corners on an actual mission and up that playtime. So we just did a bunch of public events, which most of the time ended up being solo tasks, because who in their right mind is playing Anthem in the big 2025? In the process, we were moving right on down the list. We got 3 more trophies for the assault rifles, heavy pistols, and the sniper rifles. And when we completed the challenges, we were able to move on to the mission into the tomb of General Tarsus, which I guess is who the fort is named after, because Shoddy apparently had aura like that, I don't know. We get there, find a key, or as Spider-Man would call a goober, a generic plot device leading to the next plot point. The bad guys try to stop us, fail, and things are looking pretty good. And as the good old cherry on top, we get the trophy for completing the mission, Tomb of Tarsus. We also received a trophy named Uncommon Talent for completing a mission with a javelin rank of Uncommon. There's one for each tier of javelin, which is decided by the overall rarity of the gear that you're using. After talking to everyone, we find out the key might actually be used to find General Tarsus's OP suit that she had locked away all these years. So with Owen being a crybaby as usual and our pals ready to roll, we head to the Fortress of Dawn. We get there and go through some sort of trials to show that we're worthy or something, and we're granted access to the suit. But not long after, this loser comes in and betrays us. This was the only time the story really grabbed my attention, and I had hoped it might actually get interesting from here, but yeah, no. So Owen betrays us, but we'll see how that works out for you, bud. He did this because he said it was pointless to fight, yada yada yada. In conclusion, he a little bitch. But in celebration of Owen leaving, we got the Fortress of Dawn trophy. We do more side content with Matthias using Shadow Clone Jutsu and duplicating himself. I'll be honest, I started skipping some of these dialogues and cutscenes at this point, so I probably missed some stuff. But after he finished weaving out, we got another weapon trophy for the machine pistols. After learning more about the triplets on their quest line, we get the Triple Threat trophy, and soon followed by the completion of all shotgun challenges, we got the I Call Shotgun trophy. Back to the main story, we then find Owen all f***ed up. He realizes he's a loser, and he gives us what we need to complete our shield to enter the Heart of Rage, which is the place from the game's intro and where the big baddie has his eyes set to do bad guy things, with insert plot devices that I was not paying attention to. What's this shield for again? We popped the Freelancer Down trophy. Throughout my playthrough, I was swapping my gear every 4 missions, as there's a trophy tied to using all 12 gear pieces for each javelin. And the first one we crossed off the list was Storms, getting the Seal Savant trophy. I switched to the Colossus to start knocking out his gear challenges, but it was time we took on the last main story mission. Yeah, there's literally more time in some of these side quests. Priorities, man, priorities. I personally think graphically, Anthem is a relatively good looking game considering it came out on the PS4, so it wasn't too much of an eyesore, though majority of the time you're just staring at the same green trees in the same areas of the map over and over, but I digress. We approach the boss that has now used the Anthem to turn into what I can only describe as a knockoff Taken King from Destiny. And we just eviscerate this guy with our over-leveled weapons. We don't even get the satisfaction of killing him because our bozo friends steal our thunder and just crash the AT-AT Walker into him, which is apparently enough to kill a god in this universe, so yeah, there's that I guess. This lady has the Anthem coming inside of her, and we all live happily ever after, besides me, as my hell has just begun. But hey, we popped the Return to the Heart of Rage trophy. Oh yeah, I forgot to mention, we met this character named Dax, which is royalty or something, and we helped him do something? I don't fucking know. I was slumped at this point, but I think it was finding her aunt. Anyways, in the process, what I do remember was this ridiculous puzzle that I'm pretty sure made me develop epilepsy. I don't know if my brain had took a beating or if this was genuinely this difficult, but holy hell was I stuck on this for a hot minute, and it sure as hell woke my ass up. I was playing this on my TV, and I swear this was 1,000 times worse than it looks in the video, or maybe I'm just slower than I thought. Listen, you play this game for 8 hours at a time, it does something something to you, man. But at the end, they gave us a trophy for their quest, a royal favor. Completed Yarrow's second quest for honorable pursuits. Call me Dora, the way I explored the Monument Watch. Knocked out part 2 of Bryn's story in the pursuit of military. I can't think of any puns, I'm sorry. Got our money up and got our javelin to rare grade and got the rare talent trophy. Mastered a few more weapon categories, including the Colossus exclusive weapons for the LMGs, autocannons, and the grenade launchers, which finished off all of our weapon mastery trophies. Huzzah! As a man with too much junk in the trunk, we bumped into the Emerald Abyss Explorer trophy. You come here often? Did Matthias' second quest, and finally finished off all 12 of the Colossus gear challenges. This point had the game raining that sweet looty booty, adding purple gear to my arsenal and snatching the epic talent trophy. So when I switched to the Interceptor, which quickly became my personal favorite javelin, I was blasting through the enemy's buttholes like butter. But hey, can we talk about, for a game all about flying mech suits, they do not want you flying under any circumstances whatsoever. Enemy hurling fire at you? No flying. Need to pick something up? Too heavy. Been flying for more than 5 seconds? Aw, head to the gas station cause you're all out of fuel. I don't know, it's probably a nothing burger to most people, but this just infuriated me so much throughout the game. The trophy guide actually said obtaining the Masterwork Rarity Javelin was quite the grind, and to an extent it was, but using the in-game shop and the overwhelming amount of currency I had, we stocked up on quite a few Masterworks and even legendary gear and weapons. Shout out to Daddy It's Illusion for the tip. But after some legendary contracts and loot farming, we hit the Masterwork Rarity before even finishing our 3rd Javelin's challenges. I was still missing one gear piece for the Interceptor, which was starting to frustrate me. I hadn't had too much trouble with RNG until this point, but for some reason this game did not want me to have this piece of gear. After roughly 9 hours of my life wasted on a game that will not exist in 3 months, I finally obtained what I needed and got the Gadgets Galore trophy. In the process, I was able to knock out all 3 of the faction's standing levels, earning 3 trophies in the process. I can finally stop spamming through their dialogue like a madman. Just had to knock out the Rangers challenges, so I speedran some Stronghold and Quick Play missions and had no problemo completing all 12 of his challenges in just a couple of hours. RNGesus had finally joined the chat. Cleaning up, I looked around the areas I had missed and knocked out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 Explorer trophies. Seeing my trophy count, I was so happy. This nightmare was finally almost over. Unfortunately, however, according to the guide, this was the most tedious and frustrating part of the platinum, and is actually what turned so many people away from completing it. You have to complete and acquire all of the collectible challenges in the game. There was a couple that I found guides on that were farmable, but even these took a couple of hours to knock out. I started with the non-farmable ones, and I personally hate following collectible videos due to looking back and forth on the screen 10 billion times to make sure you follow the exact pathing. But this game made that experience 10 times worse, because you can't even set pings to anything other than public events. What the hell, man? Anyway, I locked in and spent the next few hours following these guides, and shout out to those guys, because this would not have happened without their help. I then found some spots to farm the intel collectibles, which none of the guides were working for me, as there's a big chance the spawns won't even happen in your session. So you have to leave and reload free roam, which takes like 10 minutes because this game's load times are egregious. But after finally thugging it out, we obtained the No Stone Left Unturned trophy, which in turn completed our grind for the Platinum Trophy Grand Master. Get your ass off my screen. According to PlayStation, this took me about 47 hours to complete, but I don't think it took my last play session into account, so we'll call it roughly 55 hours, which is still 15 hours under the PSN profiles guide, so not too shabby. Granted, 18 of those hours were probably obtaining that one piece of gear for the Interceptor and those dreaded collectibles. I was a little sad when hearing about this game's servers being shut down. However, after completing this challenge, it's safe to say I no longer care. This game deserves to be incinerated. It's like the kid you just found out wasn't yours. It fills you with rage just looking at it. There's the skeleton to such a good game here, man. I mean, how can you even fuck up an Iron Man looter shooter? Too bad EA gave BioWare a fraction of the required development time and threw this bad boy out the window before even trying to save it. So, if you were interested in this game, I hope this video convinced you otherwise. But if you still want to obtain that plat, may the gods be with you, soldier.